up. Just resist the urge to make decisions.
My name's Stephen Rauscher. I'm in the management training program, and currently I'm in the lobby lounge, and I was in the lobby lounge as a bartender before my program started.
My name's Amy Zub. I am also in the management training program. I started as a concierge on the self-directed work team, and I'm now in the housekeeping department.
My name is Jennifer Barbarick. I'm also in the management training program. I started on the front desk in the self-managed work team, and I last week moved to reservations department.
My name is Stacy McGuigan, and I'm on the lobby concierge team.
My name is Wendy Watson, and I was on the concierge team, and I'm now the guest history coordinator.
My name is Patricia Murphy. I'm on the banquet team. I'm a banquet captain.
My name is Tadeya Mullerworth. I am a management training program. I started Lobby Lounge as a tea server. Currently, I'm banquet.
My name is Lori Burton, and I'm the engineering coordinator.
What, if anything, do you miss most about not having a manager in your work area?
Nothing.
Speak up for the video. Go ahead.
Somehow I was expecting that answer.
Let him have it. Speak up so we get it on the video.
I don't think there's anything that I miss personally from having a manager standing behind me. I am a capable individual who can do my job to its fullest extent, and I believe in my abilities, so I don't miss anything.
I was on a self-directed work team, and this past week had moved into a department that has a manager, and I miss the self-directed work team unbelievably.
I will back that up as well. I've left the self-directed work team and have gone to be managed, and it's extremely hard to deal with that now.
I'm in a work environment that started off with several managers at different levels, and now we have what we like to call a leader versus a manager. We have somebody that supports us, and at the time, if we need any decisions that we would like input on and so forth, we have that support. But we are able to make our own decisions, but it's nice to have a leadership body there. But for the most part, we make our decisions.
When I was in the lobby lounge, we did not, the manager's role pretty much changed. They were not eliminated or they did not disappear. What their roles changed to giving us information about what we need to do as far as not the actual technical things in the lobby lounge, just other different things. So they're there, they're still there, they're just, their roles has shifted. They're not bugging us, and I don't miss the bugging ever.
Well, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are in the management training program, and you are looking now to assume a leadership role at some point, what will you do differently when you assume that leadership role than what you've observed in the past?
Well, I think since we are a product of a self-directed work team, that our management style will be more letting the employees be open to their own decisions and their own ideas, and instead of always being over them, telling them this is what you need to do, let them do the payroll, let them do all those things so that they can gain those skills and help them grow also.
Personally, I want to be in quadrant 2, and that's, as a management position, that's the only thing I really would like to do. Day-to-day things people can handle. It's just, increasing the boundaries, and just working with that. That's what I'd rather do when I'm in management.
The same thing. It would not be, I don't think I would be as concerned. Yes, I would be very concerned, but I think I'll have more trust in my people than the old style of management to do their job. And I'll be much more informative and more like a teacher than an actual sheep herder, I guess.
How many of you were here at the opening of the hotel? Just one. Can you tell me what you think of the standards today versus when we opened this hotel?
I think that with the employees themselves making decisions, it gives them a sense of pride. They tend to think more about what they're doing than just jumping in and doing it. And being able to make a decision on your own rather than being told, like I said, it gives them a sense of pride. It motivates them.
Do you feel the standards are higher or equally as high as when we opened this hotel?
I feel they're higher.
I have a question for you. When you're not meeting standards, or when a manager finds something that needs to be changed in your area, how should that manager deal with you?
I can go ahead and answer that. I think a lot of it is how you present yourself as a leader. If we were to find a standard that wasn't being followed, oftentimes the people that are doing the work know that they're not upholding our standards. And a lot of times you've got the team that check on each other versus that manager that would come around. But if the manager indeed came ahead and said, you know, look, we need to do this, the way to present it would be, you know, here's our opportunity. You guys come back to me and tell me what we need to do in order to get back to our standard. Because you people are the ones doing the work. What do you need? And if you need anything from me, I'll be there.
Anybody else want to respond to that?
Just involve the people in the solution instead of just presenting a solution. I think that's very important. Just ask them their suggestion as well as kind of dictating the solution.
That's a question for the management trainees. As you go more and more into self-managed work teams, how do you see your role as a manager at the conclusion of your management training program? What kind of role do you see yourself playing?
I think what Stephen was saying about being in quadrant 2 is kind of how we see it. We don't see it as a stand at the front desk, stand at the concierge desk kind of a manager, more helping teams figure out goals and how they're going to work through opportunities that they have and new ideas that they might have, and more as a facilitator in self-directed work teams.
I have two questions. One is basically a line of communications question, more to the line employees as opposed to even the management trainees. For instance, there are corporate directives, purchasing. Stephen, I think earlier on the film today, we saw you say that you feel empowered to be able to decide from the needs of the customer's standpoint what product you're going to be able to serve or purchase. But yet there are certain corporate directives that are in place for whatever reasons. One is, are you clearly aware of those directives, and by what manner are they communicated to you? And two, if indeed you feel strongly about a product and providing a product to a customer, I'll put one out, for instance, a mineral water different from the Ritz Carlton waters that you think a customer may want. What avenues do you use to try to change that, or see if you're able to provide that to your customer, or do you actually just do it?
For corporate directives, I generally go down to the purchasing office, and there's a corporate directive book, and I look up in the food and beverage department, and I see that, you know, we need to carry the Bruno Pratts, we need to carry Steinlager beer, and that sort of thing. If I want to introduce something different, like if I wanted to introduce a Tynat mineral water, I would have to see if we could carry it and where we'd have to get it from, and then I would, you know, take it up with, I don't know, I guess our food and beverage director, and ask, you know, if it's possible to carry something else like that, and, you know, if we could do it. Other things like introducing new beers, or easier things that aren't going to be quite, you know, there aren't limitations on that, then just we have to go through our Virginia ABC. I look it up on the book, see if we can actually order it from down the street, or if we have to go through the state office in Richmond, and it's just a matter of ordering it and seeing if we can sell it.
The second question really is to a logistics one in terms of the selection process, and it was mentioned a number of times that the team becomes critically involved in the selection process. Does that mean that everybody on the team interviews that perspective, and by what format? Do you sit there in a circle and put this person and grill them at the circle, or is it one-on-one? I mean, I can see some logistics opportunities in that.
I'll tell you. Engineering, what we did is we had the person who applied for a position talk to the key people that they would be dealing with. And then as a group in lineup, we sat down and discussed what each of us felt about the person and brought everything to the surface, and then everybody based their opinions on that.
At the front desk, we would try to get 2 to 3 people, meet with the person to get a consensus of if we thought they would fit with the team or whatnot. We would do it one-on-one, take our turn, not as a group.
That's how we did it also at the concierge desk. It was one-on-one, and then we go back and we meet and we talk about the pros and cons of that individual, whether or not they would fit on our team.
Are the employees, either the line employees, the trainees, or the management, involved in the leadership selection?
No, we like what we got right now.
Question to anybody that's been here this over a year that's filled out 2 employee opinion surveys. Did you approach the opinion survey differently this last, I guess, November, was it? April. This last April compared to the last one? Did you go in any differently on how you answered the questions?
I'd like to respond. In terms of the banquet team, we did. We huddled about this employee survey and realized that this was impacting us as individuals. This was not about our leadership. This was about who we were as a team and where we've evolved and how far we've come, and our own personal satisfaction in what we've done. And that happened in stewarding banquets and the housemen. We took a lot of pride in that because that was a direct reflection of what we had done.
Good. Well, you should be commended.
I have a question. I'm over here. Have any of you personally experienced or can share with us where any of you have been skilled in more than one job, multi-skilled and cross-trained within your natural team or across the process? Is there anything you can share with us on that?
I can. I've worked in a couple of different departments here, and I have found with this process that we have now, you find people's strong points and their weak points and what areas they work in best, and you're better able to place a person with this. It brings out a lot in them as far as where their weaknesses are and where their strong points are. And you find that if you try to put somebody and self-direct them where they're really not that good at their job, or they're just not as strong as they could be, but you know that they're stronger in another area, you can place them there, and it brings a lot more out in that person.
Lori, what different jobs do you know in this hotel?
That's my point. Who in this hotel or among you has been skilled in more than one job and is placed there routinely to deal with the variations in business?
And I think in Lobby Lounge, most of the staff that's there is skilled at more than one job. Personally, I did tea server, cocktail, bartend, and sometimes, that depends on shortage of staff if someone is on vacation. And there are other people that are able to do that. So we do a lot of crossing and jumping over. It also gives us a better understanding of some other people's job.
Wendy?
Yeah. I'm trained at the concierge desk. I'm QSP trained, reservations, gift shop, and now guest history. And I'm called on constantly to do lateral service, and I do it because, I guess you really get to being from the self-directed work team and then going into a team that's managed and doing lateral service, you can really tell, I guess morale is different on a self-directed work team than it is in a team that's managed. The strong people are on the self-directed work teams. I'm not saying that there aren't strong people on the other teams as well, but people's weaknesses and strengths really do come out on a self-directed work team. You can really see who's going to sink, and you're really going to see who's going to swim as soon as the manager's taken out. It happens real fast.
Larry?
The decision-making process comes from the team itself through consensus, correct?
Yes.
Now, normally everyone is not working 9 to 5, they're working different shifts. So total consensus might take a little time. Do you see the process, do you have problems with that? Do you see the decision-making process slowing down, or is it speeding up? Is it slower or faster under this method than it would be under the traditional management method?
It's faster under, I think, the self-directed method. Yes, naturally, you're not going to get 100% consensus on an individual that you're going to hire, but if it's somebody that if at least the majority of the people on your team feel as though they're going to fit and they're going to work, we're going to hire that person, and he's going to start at the next orientation date. And it's a lot quicker that way because we're responsible for getting the references and checking all of the information on that person, rather than sending it down to human resources where they have maybe hundreds of other applications that they have to do the same process for. So we're responsible for this individual coming in from the beginning after the QSP and until they're hired. And we stay on top of it as a team to get it done as quickly as possible according to the needs.
In addition to that, I think regardless of whether it takes, a day longer or a day shorter, the people on the team are going to know whether or not the person is good for that team, not necessarily the human resources department. So speaking in long term of things, it's better.
I also would suggest to everybody that if we search our heart of hearts and actually mapped out the time and the steps that decisions are made, we would find out that what slows decisions down is mostly management. Because management, you have to go through layers of approval for things, and it's that control system that actually slows people down. And when people don't have to go through those layers of approval, that's what improves the cycle time. If you mapped out a decision-making process, my prediction is you'd find out it's management that's slowing it down much more than the ability of a team to reach consensus. Louis?
Yeah, I had a question, Larry, that goes back to the employee satisfaction survey and leadership satisfaction survey. The young lady, Wendy was saying, no, Patricia was saying that when they did it this year, they looked at it as a reflection on themselves, what they were writing. Therefore, evidently, your scores have gone sky high. Now, what made it different from April of 1994? Because there were also teams at work at the time, were there not?
Well, we weren't remotely as far along in our journey, but I'll let these people answer what made it different.
I think that's true what Mr. Sternberg says. It was early, in April, it was early for the self-directed teams. When they first came together, there was still a lot of questions and conflicts. And now that we feel more confident being self-directed, it is a reflection on us, the answer on that employee survey. It's not, how do you feel about your managers? It's how do you feel about yourself, and how do you feel that you're doing as a team making the hotel successful? So it's just, I guess, a process. We had to grow as a self-directed team. So in April, we were still, I guess, babies in a journey with a lot of questions and concerns.
I was going to add, we didn't realize at first, it was the beginning, like Stacy just said, but also we realized we are accountable. We are the managers. We considered ourselves this year. It took a long time to really realize that we are the managers as a team. So
I just want to add real quick to that. Back in April, I was here back in April on the concierge team when they had just implemented, not just implemented, but it had been like 3 months, I guess, when I began there. And I will tell you that things are a lot different then than they are now. And at that point, we were so confused and so scared of the process itself that's what showed on the survey, pretty much. No one knew what was going on.
In all our hotels, we have a lot of repeat customers and loyal customers. And most of them are used to very personal attention and that genuine care. And traditionally, the manager, for instance, in a restaurant, he would get that wheelchair, he would get that special seat on the window, and he would know what had to be there. I'm interested to know how you handle that in the absence of a manager.
Well, all that information is, of course, passed down to self-directed teams, and we take it upon ourselves. Guest recognition and satisfaction is extremely important to this hotel's future goals. So we take the initiative. We know our repeat guests. We know what they like, what they don't like. We say hello to them. We know when they want their faxes, their laundry. We take care of it. We own responsibility.
as a line employee, you probably see the customer more than a manager would anyway. So I can't imagine that your employees don't know your repeat customers and what they like. And it's the same with us. We're on the line dealing with them every day.
And there are a lot of traditional things that managers used to do are going to be given up, so I guess that's going to be one of them.
Well, we also have a repeat guest list that we come out every day that has little things on it that they get in mail and they get in the mail, so they can keep up with it that way.
I've got a question for Jennifer at the front desk. You're going to have some situations where a guest has got a problem, and I'm here, and they're obviously going to reach a point where they want to speak to a manager. You know, I want to speak to the manager. What do you do? You're in a self-directed work team. There's no managers present. How do you handle it?
It depends on the situation. If we try to handle it at first. If, again, they want to speak to a manager, just wanting to speak to another person, really, I think, someone they think is higher. Depending on how mad they are, sometimes we might pull someone from our team from the back and pull them out and say, this is the front desk manager.
I have a question for the group. What stress has this caused on you? Suddenly you were, you know, maybe you weren't in on the planning and you were just executing and it was frustrating, but now you carry all this responsibility. What stress has this brought to your life?
It's stressful. I mean, it's very stressful at the front desk, but we like the stress, I think. You wouldn't be there if we didn't. It's stressful.
It's also a lot of time management. You just, and scheduling and things like that. I mean, you have added responsibilities, but you learn how to adjust to them.
Well, let me ask you this. Before you were self-directed versus now, do you go home at night and worry about your responsibilities?
I entered into the team when it was self-directed. This past week I moved to a department that was managed, a lot less stressful, but it will be self-directed, so.
But do any of you find yourself going home at night and saying, what if so-and-so calls off, or did I have that forecast right, or did I do it right?
You take on the responsibility.
But
like
did you
any
find
other
that in
manager.
your old assignments, whether here or anywhere else?
No.
No.
So you're thinking and acting and behaving like a manager in many ways.
Right.
I'd like to respond to that as well. In banquets, there's so much pre-planning and so many details that need to be handled on a daily basis that you find yourself just looking ahead a couple of days and you're always checking on your staffing. But at the same time, at my level as a banquet captain, we have servers that are doing the same thing. We have a scheduling committee. They review the schedule that's put out every week. They have that buy-in and that ownership to what's happening to the business on a day-to-day basis. If there's changes or things that come through our office, any of us can handle it. And it's a matter of everybody being involved. In the trust level, you have to have everybody's input as well as everybody working together.
You have to have avenues to build talents within the organization. Let's go back to the concept of a talent-based organization. And the number of trainees that you will have in your hotel is based upon that talent mix that you have in your organization.
I think, Larry, we've got to be careful here. I think what we have to look at is that ultimately, as we evolve self-directed work teams, we want a management development or a leadership development program. Initially, though, your emphasis has to be put on getting your organizational structure set up and getting this done. This may not be your first. This may not be in the first phase. This may be. Yes, this is a goal of where we want to be in our vision of the organization of the future. There must be leadership development involved. It may not be in this first 6 months, may not be in the first 8 months. It may not be in the first year. Don't lose sight of the fact that it has to be in there, but certainly make sure that you get your organizational structure aligned first and foremost.
And I want to add another comment. While we recognize the importance of management training programs, you do not tomorrow have to go back to your hotels and start them. Okay, that's an important thing. You have to look at the needs in your hotel. Align the organization first, develop the leaders that you have developed. You have also to give them time themselves to get into a state of self-control. They need to start a self-directed work team environment. And then at a certain point, you start building their competencies through cross-training. The biggest fear that I have at this point, and I might have supported the message myself saying, you can have 10, you can have 25 trainees, you can have 0. It's really up to you. I'm not encouraging at this stage to go ahead and let's establish a management training program with 15 people, because then a year from now or 18 months from now, once the rotations are over, there might be a placement issue. So my suggestion is, again, you have to assess the talents in your hotel. You have to opportunistically identify the resources and start these programs and these initiatives as they are needed, on an as-needed basis, so that at the end, when they complete their programs, they draw full satisfaction, not only through the process, but by the outcome of the process. If 15 months from now we are unable to satisfy their career expectations, their personal and professional expectations, I think we have a larger organizational problems than having 10 or 15 management trainees in the system.
I'd like to ask a question to somebody who's been on self-directed work teams, not necessarily like a couple of you, I think you said, are in more traditional departments today, but reflecting back on your experience, one thing that we know from pure statistics that of any group of people, a percentage of them are going to accept a change, i.e. self-directed work team, a percentage are going to kind of be sitting on the fence, and a percentage are going to resist that change. Can you share with us any lessons learned in terms of how to overcome the resistance, and by the same token, how to bring the people sitting on the fence more in line with the rest, with the goals of the group?
Well, Wendy's example was perfect of somebody, resisting self-direction, and it's up to the team to bring the issue, I guess, to the forefront and be willing to talk about it openly and want to solve it, realizing the end result is that you want the team to be successful as possible. And in most cases, you're going to have people who are struggling with that loss of power that they like to feel. And those people just will not fit in a self-directed work team. And it's best for those people to leave if you want the team to be successful.
And is that message conveyed to that team member?
I mean, it's not in their face.
Not in their face.
But
Right.
as a team, you can feel who is not fitting in or who is pulling the power. And you sit down and you really do have to talk about it and say that, look, we are on a self-directed team. This is a self-directed hotel, now self-directed company. This is where we want to go, and we have to work together. And the people who want the power naturally will leave, and that'll happen in every hotel. And the people who are lackadaisical, who do like the managers, and now they're not there, and they decide to slack off, then yes, the team has to pull them together. And if they're not willing to pull their own weight, then I guess the team will take responsibility for that. Tell them, I guess, play the game, or it's time to go.
Stacy, where do you go for counseling of that nature? Who do you sit down with and say, listen, we're just not clicking and I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to handle it?
First the team, and if you feel as though with the team you're still not getting the response that you want, then you go to the guidance team. Or you go to the assistant's room director. Since I'm on the concierge team, I would go to the assistant rooms director and say, Richard, I need a little help here. What do you suggest? How do you think I should go about, pulling this person in or letting this person go? And everybody on the guidance team, as well as all the managers that are left, are more than willing to help you. They're open and they're willing. They're just willing to listen and willing to give you suggestions. So there's lots of resources out there for us.
I'd like to just add, in terms of banquets, there's oftentimes that we deal with the conflict, and I think what they're referring to, how do you deal with it within the team environment amongst the people themselves? You'll find that this team develops as you get into this. They develop relationships. This is the basis of everything. And these people end up influencing each other. The team ends up confronting these problems and this resistance that comes forth, and oftentimes within the immediate team, they handle it themselves, and they do feel the pressure, but yet it's dealt with face to face. I mean, it's not skirted around an issue. If there's a problem out there, you bring it to the forefront, and there are tools, you know, when we do our development